Welcome back to another episode of The Associates. Today we got a lot of information. We got a lot of stuff that happened the past few weeks. I guess, David, you want to take us through what's been going on?
Yeah, so we got a few things going on this week. I mean, bond yields have been up. Bond yields to start the year have been up, almost 13%, just over that actually. So that's pushing up the fixed rate mortgages recently.
Yeah,
And then, you look at certain things. The inflation report came out last week for Canada. It was a little under what the expectations were at 2.9, kind of within that threshold of what the Bank of Canada is looking for. So I
yeah.
mean, seems like some positive news for variable rate
So
holders
you
and
think
anybody
it's
that has a line of credit.
yeah, you think it's
What's that?
coming down?
I think interest rates they're definitely going to come down. It's just a matter of when they're going to come down and by how much. So
Yeah.
I think we can both agree the interest rates aren't going to go up any further than
Oh,
where they are right now, right?
right. Yeah, no, 100%. I think we are going to see them come down.
Or at
I
least
did
they
send you
should.
that like picture of the plan for Bank of Canada, where they're supposed to like the first drop will be in June, and then we're going to see a 1% drop this year. And they had a whole plan all the way up to 2026. So 2-year plan. It looks like their goal is to go back down to 2.5 to 3% by 2026. So I mean, looks positive.
Yeah. So I mean, just a few other things here too. So Equifax came out with some stats. So it looks like as of the end of Q3 last year, we have consumer credit rose to 2.4 trillion. So in Canada, consumer debt has risen, and that includes mortgages, credit cards. It looks like the actual balance on Canadian credit cards. So a lot of people are now increasing their balance on credit cards
Yeah.
recently, and it's actually interesting because Equifax also reported that even though mortgage delinquencies, so missed payments on mortgages, were up, they're actually still lower than the pre-pandemic levels.
Yeah.
So a lot of interesting stuff going on. I mean, what's kind of your take in terms of working with your clients? You had a few listings that sold this week, right?
Yeah. I mean, I honestly, I just like you go see some properties and you're just seeing offers after offers getting registered. I think people are over this whole thing. I think we know we're at the end, the tail end of this. And I mean, again, who knows what's going to happen? But with the good news of inflation, sounds like they're going to be dropping rates soon. I don't think it's going to be March. I have some people telling me it's going to be March. If it's March, I'll be very shocked and surprised. I mean, obviously, it'd be good for us, but I don't think it'll be good for the economy if that happens. I think we'll see another inflation kind of come back if that happens because people are going to go sporadic and start buying stuff up. But the whole debt period you're talking about, like the consumer debt and all that stuff. I just think it's crazy how little population we have and our debt is so
2.4
massive.
trillion.
Yeah, that's huge, right?
2.4 trillion consumer household debt. So I mean, the question is the BOC going to start cutting before the Fed? How does that affect our imports? How does that affect, inflation here? I don't know if you saw, but Loblaws is set to, I think, invest about $2 billion now. They want to basically, start to increase their market share for Loblaws, and grocery chains are seeing, record profits recently.
Yeah,
But I think sort of, just the sentiment in the market, like the perspective of the consumer when it comes to real estate has at least softened, in terms of where we came off last year. And why wouldn't it? I mean, rates went up from 0.25, they went up to 5%. And I think the consensus, although this could change, the consensus is that interest rates have peaked. And at some point this year, we're going to see declines. If you look at the Fed really never comes out and makes a bold prediction like they did. Not even a prediction. It was more so a forecast that they were going to have at least three rate cuts this year.
yeah.
So
But I mean, the
markets are
U.S.
pricing that
economy
in.
is a much better place than where we are right now. So I mean, like they're doing much better off than where we are. Like I mean, I think we need to
A
like
lot
you're
of debt.
saying like sorry.
A lot of debt out there in
Yeah,
Canada.
I mean, I think the whole, yeah, but you got to look at the state's debt is different than our debt. Like their whole mentality towards it is completely different from ours, and their prices are much lower. So it's like it's easier to maintain. Like even like you were in the cars, like down there in cars, they give you better residual value on leases and stuff like that. So it's like your payments are less, you're not as bloated. I mean, there's just so many things that like are different. Like even their mortgage structure is different than our mortgage structure.
30-year mortgages would be great, you
Yeah,
know?
for sure. But I mean, it's not even
But
that. It's just that we compound it twice a year. Like our debt, like our interest compounds twice a year. There, it's like a monthly thing, I think. It's like their mortgages, the way it's made here and the way it's made there, it's all like it's a different product. It's a whole different it's hard. It's a whole different economy. You can't compare us to them. And like a lot of people think, well, we're their neighbors. We're exactly like them. It's just we have a lot of the traits, a lot of the restaurants, a lot of the brands come up here, and we almost get shafted by everything because everything is a
Small
lot more
market.
expensive. And it's just it's like the argument to say as well, we're a tinier market, we're a tiny, yeah, but the thing is, we're like one state, and yet they're getting better rates, better gas prices, better a lot of things that are coming in that are just
Hmm.
better there. It just doesn't make sense. Like I heard the whole cellular thing, the reason why our plan is so high is because we have so much land to cover. Someone
Okay.
else is saying the way
Yeah,
it
but
works
most,
is actually, go ahead.
mhm. Well, most people live under a certain,
Right.
90% of the population lives on the southern border of Canada, right? For the most part. So I don't
I know,
know.
right? But so it's exactly, it's like there's less territory to cover, but yeah, if you go way out and it's tougher. But I was reading and I saw videos that explain that the towers, the way they work is that, there's a certain distance between them and they kind of communicate. So if you're in there, you kind of get a good signal. So if you're the less people there are, the better your reception will be in the
Makes
towers
sense.
are, right?
Makes
When
sense.
you're coming to the city, you have these buildings that are blocking the towers and the radio waves or whatever. So that's why it's like when you're downtown sometimes and you're like, wow, I have the worst reception ever, but I'm in the heart of the city.
That happens a lot, yeah.
Yeah, it's insane.
So
I
the,
think
the
like
the trick to get around that is just to set up your phone for Wi-Fi calling. So
yeah,
if you go into a lot of condo areas, like high dense condo areas, a lot of the reception is bad.
yeah.
But if you set up your cell phone, but let's kind of go back to real estate. I heard something interesting this week where there was a mortgage broker that came out and said that there was an application for a mortgage that had 11 people that wanted to go on title of this home,
Okay.
and it seems like a lot of them are or at least most of them are going to move into this home and live in it.
Yeah.
And do you think we're heading towards
a
a,
hundred
a,
percent. I
a
think it's gonna
future
be
where you have like you
your
know
grandparents, your parents, and the kids are gonna be on title because
eh,
they have to pass it down. It's gonna be I think we're getting to a point, unless they start opening up the mortgage amortizations to 50, 60 years. And, again,
but
same thing. Like,
what does that do? All that does is allow people with the same income to borrow more money. So that's not going to fix the affordability issue,
well, yes, it
right?
is because now your payments will be less, so people can come and afford more. And they also I think they got to get rid of the stress test. The reason why they brought the stress test originally was because, oh, well, what happens if the rates go up? Well, we had this whole thing. Now they're going down. There's no reason to have the stress test anymore.
So we have all these conversations and everybody has their opinion on the real estate market and how they view it. And the reality is we have an issue, whether you want to call it a supply issue or whether you want to call it a demand issue. You can look at the same thing and you can view it from both different sides, right?
Yeah.
The reality is we don't have enough homes for the amount of people that need them. And then the other question is, well, with the amount of homes that we have, how many of them are owned by, how many investors own these properties? And we've talked about this in terms of in a perfect world, the new inventory that comes to market, it's priced reasonably at fair market value, and it goes to families that need them. But the pre-construction market is mostly purchased by investors in a lot of cases because they have the cash to actually buy these properties. They look
Yes.
at it as an investment. So what is the answer for affordable housing? I mean,
I think
it's
the answer to
tricky. It's
affordable
tricky.
houses is just open the floodgates. Let anyone build with the house they want. Like open up the land, sell it to people. Like instead of selling it to developers, you sell it to the person. Like Canada should just be having an office where they have a piece of land, they release it, and they're selling it to families that don't have homes, and then they set them up with a contractor to build. I mean, this is obviously like would never happen, but I
Mhm.
think they just need to open the floodgates and just let people build their homes and let people do or let developers do it at a lesser cost. But I think we're getting into a time where, like yeah, investors are buying up the properties because Canadians are
Investors are still there.
uneducated. They're
E- even in
uneducated.
today's even in today's market, investors are still there.
Investors are the ones buying the most of it. Like I have investors calling me, oh, let's buy this, let's buy that. And it's like, okay, like they're always looking for like deals because they know this is just like we're getting to the end and it's gonna get and again, the housing crisis hasn't been solved. But I think what the government needs to do or the people need to do is educate themselves on what it is to buy a house. It's not just like I want to buy a house, but like you know, it's a stepping stone. People have these big dreams. You watch these TV shows, like I sent you the gym close to the gym. And then they're seeing the houses they're getting for like 500,000 and stuff in like the States or any in other like rural areas. You come to
Hmm.
the city and it's like, I want a detached house in downtown Toronto for 500,000. Okay, well, good luck. You can't find that anywhere in Ontario. You'd have to go to like Windsor and like, okay, well, that's too, I can't go to Windsor. My job's in Toronto. Exactly. So it's just like,
I, I think when you look at the city of Toronto, it can be very polarizing, but this, Toronto doesn't make up the entire Canadian marketplace, right? You know,
I
and
think that
again, I mean,
Toronto's its own little market.
Toronto's it's the fourth biggest city anywhere in North America. It's the fourth biggest city.
Mhm.
You know, and you look at our immigration policy, it's much easier for new immigrants to come here. The pathway to citizenship, the pathway to permanent residency is so much quicker and easier here in Canada versus the US, which is why we have so many new people to the country. I saw something, Ben Rabideau, he's a really great follow on Twitter. He posted it was the highest countries with immigration over the last 4 years. Canada, I think, was number three, behind like Sudan and Egypt and like a lot of these Middle Eastern countries. And you know, again, it's just there's a lot of people. The Stats Canada, we don't want to be too negative, but they haven't even counted the amount of immigrants that have come in here, and the whole loophole with the student with these international students. I saw something on, I think it was CTV I saw something on the news. There's a student that he's an international student from Asia, and he flies from Calgary to Vancouver to save on rent to go to university. So
Oh, he
twice a week
flies
he
down.
flies. It's $150 return. He does that twice a week. It's $1,200, something like that a month.
Yeah,
And it's cheaper than him finding a place to rent in Vancouver, right?
that's
So
insane.
it's so convoluted, right? Like we have these simple theories. Well, we'll just build more homes, just build more homes. But the actual process to get them approved by municipalities and all the NIMBYism, and I think when people look at like NIMBYs, they think they're terrible people, but they're not. They're not. A lot of these people have lived in these communities, these neighborhoods for 10, 15 years. They don't want to see a drastic overhaul to their neighborhood. They don't want to see all this higher density and
Yeah.
building laneway houses and putting five extra bedrooms and all the extra congestion. And we have so much land here in Canada. It's then you want to talk about the lack of high speed transit, like the transit
I think the
system.
whole infrastructure in Canada is all upside down. We should be a completely different country. It should be a completely different thing. We should have a hyper train that goes from Vancouver to Toronto, and it should take 6 hours to go doing that. And it should be running like 10 times a day. And the ticket should be like $100. It make this like
Uh,
our
I don't know. I don't know, right? But again, like a lot of these things when we're talking, and I'm sure lots of people have these private conversations about real estate and what their perspective is, right? And again, it sounds so simple. Just build more homes, just build more homes. But
yeah,
when you look
yeah,
at,
you don't have the people to build the home. So it's just like this vicious circle of like just never
so I
ends.
mean, here's what my advice would be to any young Canadian. Um, my advice would be don't go away to school unless you absolutely have to. Like if you're going to some prestigious program and it really based on all your research, it's really going to make you, it's going to make you more attractive to the labor market. You're going to get a higher salary. But a lot of these students now they're coming at a school with $100,000 worth of debt is not uncommon in in Canada. I mean, in the US, the federal government just forgave like 1.2 billion in student loans, right? And that's kind of something else. But
Yeah.
a lot of young people start off with this monkey on their back when it comes to the amount of student loans they have. They go away to school. I mean, you know anybody that went away to university, and no? Okay, so a lot of people go to university, right? And then they stay
I
there
know
first
people who
year.
went to university, but I'm saying like going away. No,
Yeah,
like
yeah, yeah.
I
So
like all my friends went to like Concordia or McGill when we were in Montreal. So I mean, it's
okay.
just like, like what?
So a lot of people like from Toronto, at least a lot of people I grew up with, they either went to Guelph or they went to McMaster in Hamilton, or they went to like, Laurier or what, but they had to move away. The first year you stay on res, everything's overpriced at universities. The rent, the food, all the textbooks. I don't even know if they still have textbooks now or how it works, but even when I went to college, the laptops, like we were forced to buy these certain laptops, and then at the end we could buy them back for $1, but we had already like, you know, significantly overpaid what the retail value was on these. the food plans. I'm just saying, if imagine you're 21 years old, 22 years old, right? And you're coming into college this spring, and you're going to enter the labor force. Imagine having $100,000 worth of debt and then having to pay that off. And now you have to move out of your parents' house to live close to your job. You're splitting a two-bedroom apartment, $1,300, $1,400 each for something modest. You're making 50, 60,000 on average, in most, some professions, you might break into the market at 90 or $100,000, but I think that's more and more rare. Then
Probably
you're
start at
paying
like
off.
50, 60,000, and then you kind of it
So what
does
does that
increase pretty quickly, but
what
yeah.
does 50,000 translate to after taxes?
No, I mean,
30,
it's not a
what,
lot.
30,
Yeah, it's not
35,
livable. I mean,
36?
the amount of schooling you went to do and stuff like that, it's definitely a disservice for you. I mean, like it's not like, oh, you went to school, okay, well, I need 3 years experience, so I'm going to pay you 40,000 for 3 years, and then after that, I'll give you a real salary so you can actually live properly.
So what I think the way I look at things is whether things are good or bad, there's always lessons to be learned, right? And there's things that you can take away. There's new perspectives that you come into those situations with. And again, I think, $2.4 trillion in consumer debt. That's what the nation of Canada has right now across, our entire society in Canada. So if you're a young person, be very leery of the kind of debt that you're taking on. Be very, very leery. Invest whatever you can if you have anything, to start, even if it's something small. Be very careful about car loans. Take the bus if you can. Be very careful about, student loans, what programs you're taking, what's the viability of this program in 5 years when I graduate, or 4 years when I graduate, how much am I going to make? How much am I going to pay in taxes? What's my cost of living going to be? What kind of lifestyle do I want to live? Right. So it's not all bad. It's if you look at the people that are a few years ahead of you, just in terms of age, I mean, again, the average consumer is highly indebted in this country. And when the economy kind of goes through these cycles and times are bad, that's when you really want to be in a position of liquidity. You want to have a lot of cash
Yeah.
when the market's bad, because you can purchase assets at a reduced price from distressed sellers and whatnot. So the more debt you start with, I think is really, really dangerous. And the whole thing about takes 25 years to save for a down payment, maybe that's true, probably not. You get a good
I
job,
think it's just,
you live
educate
modestly.
yourself and get to know your things, and also, subscribe and comment, like the video. That definitely helps you guys, right? Like that's a good one. No, but I think just education regarding,
So let me
just your
ask you this.
finances and stuff.
Let me
Yeah.
ask you this. You have two young children, right? How old are they?
4 and 1.
Okay. So in 15, 16 years, maybe a little bit longer, they're going to be entering the workforce, right?
Yeah.
What do you want to see for them?
I don't know. I just want them to be happy and, make sure they pick a career that makes sense. I don't like, at the end of the day, I I don't know. I'd like them to have a roof and a house and stuff like that, and a nice and a healthy family, and just be
Do you
healthy.
worry about that?
Worry about what?
Do you worry about, when they turn 20, 25, 30, looking for a new home? Like, do you worry that they're going to be able to afford their own home?
To be honest, I'm probably working hard enough so I can get them something, so that way they don't have to worry about
But
it.
do you worry about that though? You worry
Yeah,
about
I mean
that, right?
100%. I mean, like I look at
For sure.
options. But the thing is, like there's so many things, like coming out of school and coming out of doing programs and all these things you learn, like you realize that everything you get taught in school, the only thing that it really teaches you is how to time manage. That's the only thing school really teaches you. It's not like,
Well,
I mean, like it depends on what you're going into,
I get your
obviously, but a
point.
general like business school or whatever, it's just like time management. It's like you have to do these projects at a certain time and do it for this time. Yeah, don't get me wrong, there's some core knowledge you're gonna get, but I mean the major thing is, 4 years of school. It's like when you go into a new job, you're not using any of that stuff, right? So it's like like the experience you get from working is what's better than getting to school. But
So I think one of the most important things, I think one of the most important things about like specifically post-secondary, if you're going to go that route, is the network, is the networking you're going to do while you're at school, right? Like think about
yeah,
some of
fair
the
enough.
think
Yeah.
about the business. We
Yeah.
used to work at the same company, and that individual started that company. They had a lot of contacts from who they met. I have my cousin of mine and a couple of my nephews. They're young. They're 5, 7 years old, something like that, and they go to De La Salle, which is a private school around like Deer Park area, young and St. Clair. And I think just being around kind of like-minded individuals, I think is one of the most attractive things for for education and going to post secondary. Um, and I think there's a lot of negativity, a lot of doom and gloom out there, but it's not impossible to still
I
make your
mean,
way in
look,
the world, right? It's not. It's
any
not. You
like
just got
yeah,
to be
100%.
careful.
I think you just gotta put your head on straight. Anything you can do, you're gonna, if you're smart at it, and you know what you're doing, you'll be successful. And once you're successful, you make the money, and then you can buy the things you want. I
It
think it's,
just
a
takes
lot of
work.
people, yeah, it's
Just
just
takes
putting your
work.
head into it. It's
Takes
like
a lot of
realtors, like
work.
we talk about all the time, realtors. How lazy are realtors? How
They
lazy are
can be.
realtors?
Well, how lazy are people in
Well,
general,
exactly. But
right?
I
I
mean, like,
mean, like,
imagine, like, we don't have anyone to report to, and all we have to do is a couple of hours a day.
well,
And
you need a lot of discipline, right? Like with anything. I saw this video of a guy, he started a
yeah,
fence company, just like residential fences. And his whole mindset was that everybody has a fence, they deteriorate, they break down. And here's a guy who he now has like a
yeah,
six-figure business
you find a
just from
problem
doing
and you
that.
solve it and you
That's
make
it. Like
money. That's all it is.
for sure. So like again, it's not all negative, right? I mean,
No,
by
100%. I mean, there's some
owning your
people out there who make a bunch of money. Sorry, I keep cutting you off.
no, not at all. I mean, I would say that, again, if when I have kids, I'm gonna bring them up to teach them that like you can do anything you want. You can. It's a matter of like, being very careful, especially when it comes to debt. Be very careful. You don't need a brand new Mustang at 19 years old and I can
You're going
afford
to
the
pay
payments.
$500 a month in insurance, which is
Yeah,
just as much as the car. It's like, what's the
insurance and
point?
gas and everything. So, just to be very cautious. And thankfully, like my parents brought me up in a certain way. Like we didn't have a ton of money. We weren't poor, but we weren't like well off necessarily, right? So the whole idea of like spending money on this and spending money on that was a little foreign to me.
Yeah.
And I think, again, for any young people out there, I think the most important thing is, educate yourself as much as you can on how the real world operates and how how you can provide value and solve problems, because ultimately that's what businesses, that's what successful businesses do. And just work hard,
Yeah,
work hard, and
I
and
agree.
you know
Work
owning real
hard,
estate
put your
is
head
a
straight, just go at it.
owning real estate is a great thing. It's just it's out of reach for a lot of young people. But I mean,
Just
20,
educate
30,
yourself and you can
40
figure
years
out a way
ago,
to get there. It's not impossible. You just gotta you gotta work, like you said, work hard. You gotta do more. You can't just sit there and expect to work at McDonald's and do bare minimum and think, oh, I'm gonna own a home at some point. No, you gotta work hard. You gotta thrive. Maybe you become a manager, maybe you district manager, whatnot, right? So
with whatever you do. You
yeah,
you could literally
100%. You
you
just
you,
gotta
you could be a
take a career path
hairdresser
and just
and
work hard.
have a huge clientele. You could literally do any kind of business,
Yeah.
landscaping. You resurface driveways. You're a concrete guy, a
Wash
wood,
windows, you can wash cars.
whatever,
There's a bunch. Yeah.
whatever, whatever. I mean, AI is going to change a lot of that probably in the years coming
Yeah.
up. Um, but yeah, otherwise, I mean, we'll see March 6th.
Mark, yeah, big
So
news. That
not
hopefully
next
we'll see
week,
2 weeks.
but the
Yeah,
week after, right?
yeah.
BOC
We'll report on
announcement.
that. You guys can get that news here.
We got one in April as well, I believe.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. It's
And then
like
I think June,
June.
July, and then September, and then December. Like they
Yeah,
do like 2 months, one off, 2 months, one off, something like
yeah,
that. So yeah, we'll see what happens. But anecdotally, I guess I would say the market's definitely much better off than it was
yeah.
in the end of 2023.
Well, David here has got a listing coming up. Tell him about your listing a little bit. Condo, come on.
Yeah, I got a nice condo coming up in King West.
If
Nice,
you're interested, give David a call. He's willing to,
great
he's happy to help.
great city views. Yeah, I'm excited about that one. Got a really nice client that I'm working with.
Honestly, it sounds like a
So yeah,
great deal. Like I think anyone who's lucky to buy that at that price is going to be very happy.
it's priced fairly. I mean, if
Yeah,
you look
for
at the
sure.
condo market right now, like there's not a lot of like pricing it really, really low and getting a high price.
Yeah,
So it's priced fairly. It'll sell. It'll
yeah.
sell quickly. So excited about that. But otherwise, do you got anything else,
Oh,
Jean-Michel?
I think that's it. Just subscribe and comment, and loves to get some feedback on you guys and see what you guys thought of our episode.
See you next week.
Yeah, have a good one.